Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon. So today we're just going to be having a replay in the background as we go over a specific topic, and that topic is going to be how to learn and improve on champions. So recently you guys have of course seen me playing a lot of Syndra and Echo, and these are champions both of which I did not really play until maybe the last month or two, roughly, and I've already, I would say gotten quite good on these champions, and obviously I've had experience learning a lot of different champions, and so I'm really just going to go over with you guys the main things to understand when playing a champion and when learning a new champion, and this relates more to the kind of the micro aspect of Wild Rift compared to macro, which obviously most of my channels generally focus around more decision making and macro. So I think this is a bit of a different perspective or a different type of thing that a lot of people that watch my channel may not normally get. So starting off with the first thing, the really important thing is just to try stuff out when you're playing your champion. Like, before you watch a video, before you look up a build, before you do anything, if you have a new champion that you want to learn or a champion you want to get better at, play 5-10 games of them, just experiencing that champion yourself, exactly how it feels, everything like that. That is really important to kind of get that unbiased perspective before you watch other people play it or how they play it. Because when you really have that personal experience with playing the champion, understanding how it feels, getting used to it, you're able to learn a lot of things through trial and error. And sometimes that is going to be more effective than watching someone else do it, because putting it into practice, doing it yourself, there's just something about it that allows you to kind of more intuitively understand that champion. So whenever I'm learning a new champion for whatever stream it is, the first day I play that champion, I will just play them. I'll tell chat to shut the heck up. Don't tell me how to play this champion. Don't give me all this advice. Maybe tell me, basic things, but I don't know what a certain ability does. I don't know. But generally, I'm just going to try to learn this champion, learn exactly what it does and all that. And then what we'll do next, which is kind of the next point, is that then after a day or two of doing that, I will go and watch a top player and look up the top player's build, look up how they play the champion in general, all these types of things. So typically I'll search up Wild Rift China top 1 and then whatever the champion's name is. And then I'll just watch 2 or 3 games of that champion being played, and then really kind of start to try to emulate what that person's doing and comparing it to what I'm doing. So a really good example for this is when I started learning Warwick top lane. Because Warwick was broken at this time, I started playing Warwick and I was like, I'm getting a lane lead, I'm winning lane every game, but I'm not doing anything after. I'm just getting a lead and then I don't know how to play a champion after. And the biggest thing for me was watching this Warwick player after I'd already, again, experienced this thing where I didn't understand how to play past the early game. And I'd watched this player play, and I found out that the reason that I don't know how to play this champion in later parts of the game is because this champion's limits are so much higher than I thought. He can 1v2 scenarios I didn't think he could 1v2. He can be more aggressive. He can literally walk under a tower, take 7 turret shots, and then still kill 2. He can do these absurd things that I did not think were physically possible. Additionally, I saw how this person adapted his build. He built 3 completely different builds in 3 games. Not a little bit, not core item. Apart from Trinity Force first item, everything was different. There was a full armor game into a full AD comp, which is pretty straightforward. There was a full damage build, and then there was a partially AP build. They were all so different. And understanding, watching these different players, you can learn a lot from how they play, how they approach different matchups. Because at the end of the day, a one-trick who's played 900 games with their champion is going to have experienced every single scenario you could experience, whereas you're only able to experience that limited amount of scenarios. So to kind of reiterate the first couple points, play that champion with an unbiased perspective, not trying to watch anyone else, just playing, learning yourself, and then go and look how someone with more experience on the champion would approach it, and then kind of start to, adapt your play style because of that. Obviously, some important just general things are that you got to learn the basic combos of your champion. Learn whatever the biggest damage combo is. For example, you want to place the Cinder Ball, then you want a second ability to get that bonus damage. You need to understand how the combos work, the order of it, which you can learn from watching players. And then once you watch those players, you learn the combo. It's important to go into the practice tool and practice the harder combos. Some champions, their combos aren't very hard, and you don't really need a practice tool. But other champions like Jace, they're going to have pretty hard combos to kind of execute. And I'm really going to recommend that you guys go into the practice tool in order to practice these. Or a Fiora popping all her ultimate vitals, for example. Make sure you're going into practice tool to kind of practice, get the feel of it, all this type of thing. So I would say, again, one of the most important things for me for champions is just understanding that no matter how much you play, if you don't get the feel for the champion, you're not going to really perform well. It's not the same as macro where it's just you can just make a decision. You're oh, Talon told me to do this now to push my wave before roaming. okay, I'm gonna start pushing my wave before roaming every time. You can do that like you could instantly improve on that. But you can't instantly learn how to pop every vital on a Fiora ultimate in -2 seconds, even if you watch me do it 47 times. I can't do it personally. I'm not that good at Fiora, but like, you know, you watch someone do it, you're not gonna just instantly be able to do it in the same way. And so it's much more important to have repetition in you know, learning champions in comparison to just learning the game as a whole. And then we have just like, again, just spam games with it. Play 20 games, play 30, play 40, you know, just only play this champion, because that's another thing. It's like, if you play like 2 games of this champ, then you go back to playing your main, then you go and you play 2 more and whatever. It's kind of a little bit more difficult than if you just straight up just spam this champion for like a million games straight. Like, just that type of thing as well is pretty valuable. And so, like, again, with Echo and Syndra, I've pretty much only been playing these champions, and I would say I'm getting quite good on them now. Whereas, say that I only played a couple games, and then I went and played my other champs, and I played them again, it'd be a lot longer. And so that's kind of a nice thing to keep in mind. And then once you get really good on them, you start to just incorporate them into your normal champion rotation, everything like that. Additionally, if you kind of feel uncomfortable learning a champion on your main account because you're going to lose a lot, right, compared to what you would on your normal main, like say your win rate on your main champion is 59%, probably going to go down to 55 or lower on whatever champion you're learning, just, you know, obviously, right? That's pretty straightforward. And so I actually think it's not a bad idea to go onto a smurf account if you're worried about losing your rank. So there's kind of 2 things to this. If you don't know what a smurf is a lower account, so a different account that's a lower rank, basically, than your normal rank. So if you want to just get as good as possible at the champion as fast as possible, I recommend playing it on your main account. However, it gets really frustrating to lose a bunch of rank, and then you get discouraged, and then oftentimes you go back to another champion, you know, whatever your main is, and then you never really learn that champion fully because you're too busy being worried about your rank. And so, to kind of alleviate this, you know, issue, just go on a smurf, go on another account, play that champion on that account, try to learn it on that account, and then once you feel like you've gotten, you know, the mechanics down, now you go onto your main account. So basically, when you're on your smurf, you're only trying to get good mechanically, right? The micro, the small aspects and details and combos of the champion, and then when you go on your main account, you're trying to make proper decisions, all that type of stuff. So that's another important thing for kind of learning a champion and really like getting really, really good at it. And then an additional thing, probably the last main thing I would say, is understanding how to build these champions. And I would say a lot of this can be through testing. I would say one of the main things when people ask me about how to build a champion is that I would say oftentimes one tricks don't have the best builds on their champions. I think they're fine builds, they're usually good builds, but the issue with one tricks is a lot of times they're so good at their champion that they frankly just get bored and start doing fun builds. Like I've done this with Jace, for example. You know, you just play some bruiser Jace build or a different Jace build because you're like, oh, well, I always play the lethality build, I want to play something different. And a lot of times it kind of warps their perspective on what's good because they're so good at their champion that every build works because they just know how to play their champ so well. And then it's harder to find the exact build. And so do experiment with your own builds initially when you're learning the champion as well. Don't purely learn from the main, you know, the best players. However, it is usually valuable to learn like the main combos or the main core items for the build for the champion that you're trying to learn. So like, for example, with the Warwick, it was very clear from all the Warwicks that I'd watched build that Trinity Force, anytime you're building AD, is a must item. Like everyone would do it. However, I would see a lot of them going like, say, Riftmaker second or third item really, really often. And you know, I do that a lot less because I feel like the sustained damage from my auto attack speed from like going like Wit's End, going Terminus, these types of things, generally has given me more value. So it's really going to be dependent on what kind of works out for you, rather than purely just what, you know, the general consensus of other players are doing as well. We'll just go to the next game since we're not quite done talking yet, so I just skipped forward in my last stream a little bit. But that's just an important thing, understanding the difference between core items and kind of these slight differences that you can make based on your own experience with a champion. So to kind of reiterate, pretty much going to be the end of the video, but we're going to give you guys some main points as well. So again, make sure that you're limit testing on your champion when you try to learn them initially, and make sure that you try to learn it yourself rather than immediately going and getting a biased perspective by watching a top player play and then trying to just copy them. And then after you had a little bit of personal experience playing that champion, then go and watch the top players. It'll just kind of let the information stick a lot better in your mind. Make sure you practice those main combos in the practice tool. Potentially smurf if you're worried about losing too much rank. It's going to be totally okay. spam the champion a lot, because experience is going to be the #1 thing for champions compared to, again, the macro aspect, where you can learn that more just by watching videos, you know, such as this one. And then the build, just make sure that you understand most champions have core items, and you're probably going to have to stick to those core items. But when it comes to the second, third, fourth type of item, you can maybe be a bit more creative and try things out yourself rather than purely copying whatever the top players are doing. So yeah, that's going to be all really for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this was valuable to you in some way, shape, or form. If you don't know, I do coaching as a rank 5 sovereign autofill player. I feel like I can provide a lot of value in coaching. So if you're interested in that, just DM me on Discord. My Discord's Talon1169, or you can find it through the link in the description to any of my YouTube videos. And I'll see you guys in the next video.